We're live.
We are live on a Saturday.
Why are we doing it today and not yesterday as scheduled?
Well, you've been sick
Yeah, very
and
sick.
really out of it sick. You told me you thought we'd do a live yesterday, and I kind of laughed in your face.
Yeah, pretty much did.
Then he suggested I could do a live alone, which I could, but I got busy with things, which we'll talk about later. So if you are here joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm JJ. I am a life coach and I eat mostly meat since October of 2022.
And I'm Eric. I'm a novelist, and I eat mostly meat since October of 2022, even though we didn't coordinate that at the time.
We did not. We did it in secret.
But we've been married since 1997.
Yes, we have.
So I don't know how we both managed to go carnivore without each other knowing, especially since you're the cook.
Yeah. I don't know either because, yeah, I have no idea.
So anyway, it has been very beneficial to us. If you've watched us in the past, you know I have basically eliminated IBS and acid reflux. I was able to get off of my SSRI. I've lost over 30 pounds, and I am now down to a fit 173.
Yeah.
I am 6 foot even. Careful, my muscles might shove you right off the screen.
No, it's nice. When you've gotten near 170 in the past, you've been a little scrawny. So
I was definitely scrawny, and I was always really cold
yeah.
because my metabolism had slowed way down because I was counting my Weight Watchers points and not filling up until I was comfortably stuffed with fatty red meat and getting all the nutrition that I needed.
Now, I don't know how long you've been in the low 170s, but it's been a bit now.
Oh yeah, it's been some months, I guess.
Yeah, and that also never happened in the past. When you'd get down that low, you weren't there very long.
No, because I would be starving.
Yeah, starving.
And so I would be like just looking for that one cheat meal that was going to send me completely off the rails for months or years.
Well, since I've been carnivore, I feel nourished and healthy and happy. I've lost 30 pounds, but that is just the beginning of the story for me. My bad ankle pain is gone. I wake up in the morning in a great mood most days. I have my moments. We just had to almost get a divorce over. I was kidding. It was something goofy. But I have so much energy that, like yesterday, when Eric is like, well, you could do a live alone. I'm like, yeah, I could, but I have too much energy to sit down lately. Like I'm just the Energizer bunny. It's crazy.
Today you cleaned the whole kitchen and then you started vacuuming the whole house. And I was trying to have a quiet morning.
I have a project for work that I need to do that involves a lot of computer work. And the idea of sitting down, and it's not about the project, but like I can't imagine sitting, but tomorrow I'm going to have to. I need to put some time in on that thing.
And then you went for like a 45-minute walk with the dog.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. Now, I am someone who I wasn't diagnosed with chronic fatigue, but in my 30s, I basically slept that decade away. I would take a nap. I'd wake up feeling like crud, take my daughter to preschool, take a nap, eat lunch, take a nap, get up, pick her up from school, come home, manage to stay awake until bedtime, and then pass out in bed. So it was a lot of sleeping. It was a lot of low energy and a lot of low mood, very low mood. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're the opposite now.
It is the polar opposite. It's crazy.
Always on the move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which makes me feel a little bit lazy because I'm not at the Energizer bunny level that she is. And it irritates me because I could eat the exact same thing in the same pattern and I wouldn't quite get there. So, but we're different people.
Yeah.
With different genetics. And so maybe my diet needs to be tuned slightly differently.
Maybe. Yeah.
Or maybe this is just me.
And well,
It's not like I am exhausted and can't do anything.
No,
It's
you
not
are
like it at all.
no, you're doing much better
Oh,
than
yeah.
you once were. I mean, you could not have managed this property in the
No,
past.
no.
So, I mean, you're doing great. And I feel like there might be some more healing for you. I don't know. The more I keep listening to the carnivore doctors and experts, I think there's something still
I
there.
think so too. And the reason I think so is because I know what I ate when I was a kid.
Mm.
I grew up completely carb addicted and sugar addicted. So from the very beginning, it was bread, Pop Tarts, Fruit Loops, um, juice, high C juice, and mac and cheese, spaghetti, Chef Boyardee ravioli in the can. If you ever had that, it was one of my main things I knew how to cook. It
I
was
knew
just,
how to cook.
I mean, cook. And occasionally I would make, because my mom taught me how to make a tuna fish casserole
Mhm.
with the flat noodles, wherever those egg noodle things
Yeah.
were, in a can of soup. So I'd get a little protein occasionally, but it was just carbs on carbs on carbs. And then I was a latchkey kid growing up in the 70s and 80s. My parents worked out of the house. And so I would come home and I would be completely unsupervised. And there was always a box or two of Hostess cupcakes or any number of those types of things. And I would get a glass of milk and I would get the box and I would watch Spider-Man and drink milk and eat cupcake after cupcake after cupcake until I got sick and then I wouldn't eat anymore. And basically from middle school through high school, that's what I had for dinner most nights was just pure sugar.
Yeah. I I grew up at that same time and certainly had my fair share of the Kraft macaroni and cheese and Coca-Cola in the red can and Quick Nestle's Quick
Yep.
in my milk. But you're right. My family that there was real food interspersed with that with my family a little more than in
So
yours.
it's amazing to me that I didn't get sicker than I got
Yeah.
in my life. I really lucked out either genetically or something because I did not develop type 2 diabetes, even though I did have some of the elements of metabolic syndrome.
Hmm.
My A1C, maybe got to 5.5 or something like that at one point. So, not great, but not terrible.
Hmm.
So I was fortunate. And as far as weight gain, I peaked out at 206. And that would have been in 2022, 2021.
Yeah, it would have been right there.
Right. Yeah. Coming out of the pandemic. And that was the heaviest I'd ever been. And it was really uncomfortable.
It was, yet I've said this before on this channel. Um, I feel like from about 2020 to 2022, I was trying to also sort of work in the background to help you overcome your cycle of get really strict or get heavier, punish yourself into remission to the point of starvation, and then binge and punish yourself. So you were in a heavy cycle ever since I've known you of yo-yo dieting.
That's true.
But the mental model was not good. It was self-loathing and punishment pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah. So I feel like in those 2 years you did break that cycle mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is important.
And so we went to Carnivore
And yes.
and everything worked. And it didn't require starving
Yeah.
or self-loathing.
Right.
I can't laugh because that'll make me cough.
Oh no. Don't
So no
cough.
humor.
Nope.
If you came here looking to laugh or enjoy yourself, you're in the wrong place.
Not today.
We are very serious about being carnivore. And as a matter of fact, I'm mad. Actually, no, that's not the case. I'm just getting over a cold, and it was a miserable couple of days. It is, I think, typical men are terrible at being sick. If she had a cold, she would have been sick and done everything she did anyway, pretty much. And I got sick and I'm like, I can't do anything. I have to lie down and be inert. And I don't know why that is,
Yeah,
but it is the case.
it is.
So anyway, my nose opened back up
Yes, it did.
and I'm able to breathe. Oh, it's so good to be able to breathe through your nose. You take that for granted and then you lose it. It's like, oh, I've lost my nose breathing. But now I'm trying not to get a cough.
You even door dashed a Walgreens delivery.
I didn't know it was DoorDash. It
Oh.
was Walgreens you can get this delivered through their
Oh.
app, and then they partnered with DoorDash to send it. But yeah, I needed to get some items for my cold. But anyway, I'm glad to live in a time when that's available.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, I feel like you started with laryngitis,
I did.
and we thought that was going to be, we were hoping that was going to be it. But really, you had 2 bad days. I mean, I'm not inside your body, so you might say you had more than 2. But from the outside, it was 2 pretty rough days, and that was about it.
It's interesting, though, because I haven't really been sick in so long.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Carnivore, I felt almost invincible, and as far as getting viral diseases, because it just seems like the whole body the immune system's like ready and raring to go. But not this time. But I suppose in a way, maybe it has been a shorter duration. It's hard to say.
Yeah, hard to say.
But yeah. Anyway, I'm recuperating, and I'm hoping that it doesn't move to the chest where I develop a cough, because then I will have that for the rest of the winter and into spring.
You know what I'm thinking.
I mean, you're thinking of my dad, because my dad got bronchitis every year, and then he got it immediately upon getting rid of it for basically every year of his life.
That is true.
So I ran across this thing on X today from.
Can you mute me a second? Because I just ate.
She just ate, and so she has to hack up a lung. I don't know why that is.
Just a little bit.
So this was a post by Amber O'Hearn on X. Most people aren't cut out for carnivore in any form. It's really only going to work for people who are on the outer edge of motivation for whatever reason. Trying to bring it to the world is admirable, but unrealistic. Now, this is a response to an ongoing thread of conversation. And I was like, that's interesting. I'm a little surprised that she frames it that way, but I'm not entirely in disagreement. And then Dr. Berry replied to that. If I can make that appear on the screen. Maybe I can.
Oh, wait.
I've completely lost control over what's happening on our screen here. There it is. It's not there.
It's not there. There. It's partially there.
Have we almost gotten it there?
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. Dr. Berry, I agree. Only about 15 to 20% of people need to be carnivores or can maintain it. What is he saying there? Or are able to maintain it.
There we go. We got it.
However, everyone needs a meat-centric diet of real whole foods. That was way harder than it needed to be. I hate this technology. This will be the last live we ever use eCam. I promise you. So let's go back to us. So that got me thinking. It's like, well, because, we think of Dr. Berry as like the carnivore guy but really he isn't. He's a keto. There's like this whole animal foods range from keto to lion that he would advocate. And most people, if they have type 2 diabetes, he's like carnivore, beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, just do it 90 days, change your life. Then you can consider adding back in some veg, as he would say. But Nisha's ketovore.
Yes.
And so she's obviously, I don't know if she's advocating for it, but she's modeling what that looks like, which is carnivore most days and then some veg on some days, right?
I think so,
basically. But I just thought it was really helpful and interesting to see that, yeah, it depends on where you're starting from and what you're trying to overcome, how strict you need to get be on that spectrum.
And I can appreciate what he's saying too, because I think for many of us, we think we should be carnivoring harder, doing carnivore harder. And some maybe should. It's indicated by whatever they're experiencing physically and or even as far as addictions go, right? Yet I feel like sometimes I get plagued with that idea that I should be doing more, I should be cleaner, I should not go out with my friend and have whatever I have that day, which is usually not too bad, but can be a salad, right?
Well, if it's got garlic in it, it's against the rules.
It is against the rules. But, I feel like I should go stricter, but the truth is I feel great and I think my health markers are good. And do I really need to go stricter just because there are people out there who are stricter?
Right. I mean, you have resolved it all.
Yeah, I think so.
So there's really the marginal gain of being 1 or 2% stricter
Hmm.
is going to get you no benefit.
Yeah. But then we have those who say, oh, but you don't know until you go, right? They're like, you think you're here, but when you go stricter, you are just here. But I don't actually right now, I don't need to be here. I've got enough energy.
I don't know if I can handle you here.
I don't think you can.
I don't think the world is ready for a JJ who takes it from here to here.
I think you're right.
There's an argument that I should go stricter because I still have some things I'd like to correct, but I don't want to eat grass-fed steaks.
Period.
Yep, period. I'm not going to eat steak that tastes like grass.
Yeah.
Ever again.
Yeah. Well, and you made the choice at the holiday, which we talked about. Thanksgiving is extremely food centric. And so we both did, but you especially made the choice. You'd been very strict leading into Thanksgiving, and you made the choice to loosen up for Thanksgiving because you knew mentally that was the best choice for you.
Yeah, because otherwise I was going to be miserable.
Yeah.
And it worked out fine. And then I got sick. So what does that tell you? That's probably why. Is probably like I had that one fork full of stuffing and immediately caught a virus because my immune system was like, "What? You cheated on carnivore. We're gonna just quit." And I'm not gonna eat lamb ever. I've decided. And you know why? Because it tastes like hoof juice.
Hoof juice. Can't take the abuse. I've been trying to get it down, but it tastes like the ground. Hoof juice. Oh, it's no use. I'm a veteran style. It's nothing but vile. It's the truth. I can't stand that hoof juice.
I've got an attitude.
You've been storing up the sass.
I'm getting hot.
I told you you'd get hot.
Well, I'm sick still. I have no fever. I can't even get to it. I can't even get to normal. I always run cold. So like I got up to 98.1 with my sickness. And I asked ChatGPT, I'm like, what does it mean that I'm just always like a degree colder? And Chat was like, well, it could be that you have hypothermia, or some people just run cooler and it's not a problem. But I read that if you're familiar with Brian Johnson, who's this eccentric who's spending $2 million a year trying to live forever, and he publishes his blueprint. It's all the different supplements he takes, all the protocols he follows, all the diets, the foods he eats. I think he's done eating at 11 a.m. or something. Mm-hmm. He gets 8 hours of sleep perfectly every single night. He's done all kinds of treatments to his skin to de-age him. And according to telomeres or something, he's gaining 1 year of age every 18 months. Now, whether that means anything, I don't know. But what was my point?
I have no idea.
Where was I going with
I
this?
have no idea. You're hot. You're cold.
Yes.
You're
Yes. The temperature, his body temperature is like 94. And he showed this and saying this is indicative of somehow very like positive benefit or something of his metabolism. I didn't understand it. But apparently he considers that like really, really good positive health sign.
It may be true, and maybe it's even true for you. It could be true. But I know that I tend to run a little more normal now with my thyroid and hormone replacement.
Your temperature?
My temperature runs closer to normal than it used to. And so I don't know. I think I used to run cold because I was hormonally deranged.
Oh, well, my thyroid's completely normal according to the doctor.
I know.
So I don't know. It falls within range.
Oh, I'm not trying to diagnose you. I'm just saying.
So you're trying to take my positive
No, Brian.
and say
what's
that
his name?
maybe
Brian
Johnson.
It is Brian Johnson, like our architect.
Yeah, but also like the lead singer from AC/DC.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I'm
Spelled
just
different.
saying that the low temperature, I don't think was an indicator of health for me.
Okay.
But it could be an indicator for health for some. But I don't think it was for me.
So what did you learn today?
What did I learn? You want me to talk about today?
Well, you brought a card filled with information.
I did. It's what did I learn? So today, I have probably been a member of Steak and Butter Gang for about a year, maybe a little shy of that. I don't know, a while. And I have never been on a live call at all, a live Zoom session at all. I just watch replays. And so today I went on a live session. It was not aimed at anything. It's called, I think, Chewing the Fat. So it's just getting together and chatting. And it was run by Todd and Lindy, and Alyssa might have been part of that too. I just don't want to leave people out. If I did, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I showed up live and it was really interesting. I've got some topics that I can bring up.
Well,
that
bring
we
them up.
Talked about. But before I do, I just found it was I learned a lot actually about little pieces of information. And I also was happy they said, "Oh, I see some new faces here." And so I came on and it was really sweet because Lindy put up our social media stuff in the chat. So that was nice. Because I didn't say, "Hello, I'm JJ of JJ and Eric."
Oh,
and
our social media.
yes.
Got it.
Yes. And we have a channel that you should all come and watch. I didn't
You
go
didn't do
there.
that?
No, not
You're
at
terrible
all.
at self-promotion.
I am. I'm not going to do that. Even if I have permission, it's a little bit challenging. I will do it if I have permission, but I'm not going to step on someone else's thing, right? So it was really sweet. Limitless Lindy did put up our social media information.
That was
So
nice.
That was very nice because I didn't allude to anything at all, really. So, but one of the things I'm curious about is if you have a carnivore focus, do you focus on protein or do you focus on fat? Because I know there are two schools and different bioindividuality that would lead to focus on one or the other. And I know I had no focus for about a year, and then I started to focus more on fat. So that's what I'm wondering. Do you, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, do you focus on protein or fat or nothing? Do you just eat carnivore and love it?
Just eat meat and hope that the macros come out correct.
Yeah, whatever that means. Yeah.
Well, you know that I started this focusing on protein
You did. Yes.
because that's kind of was my aha moment, was that I wasn't getting enough protein. And I combined that with the idea of carnivore, thinking, well, that would be one way to do it.
Yeah.
And it sure is.
Yes, it is.
But more recently, I have made an effort to get more fat with my meals.
Yeah.
And for me, what that looks like is if I'm having a steak, and these days it's a strip steak or ribeye, I just make sure I have 4 or 5 egg yolks that I fry up and eat that with it because that introduces a whole bunch more fat.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't like butter on steak that much.
No, you don't. So yeah, if you do focus on fat, this is where the discussion was, and it wasn't about where you focus, but it was about fat. How do you get more fat into your diet? So you do egg yolks.
And you do
mostly.
butter.
I do butter. We both do a little bit of snack butter every now and then.
But you also do the fat blobs.
I also go get fat from the butcher. Yes. And one of the people on the session today lives in LA and said she cannot get fat from the butcher, that the butchers literally tell her that they are not allowed to do that, or so, like it's against regulations. They're not allowed to do it. So someone suggested she say it's for her dog, but she said it doesn't matter. They still won't release the fat. Now, I know for me, I've gone to some butchers and they don't have fat to give me because the meat is actually processed mostly off site, they say. But then when I get the fat, it is like big and some smaller hunks, but hunks of fat. And then I take it and I cut it into strips and flash freeze it. But one of the women held up a bag of suet, which sometimes I get suet and it's still hunks of fat like that. But this was ground up suet. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen ground up suet in our area, but Todd said it's for people who make their own sausage, hunters especially, who make their own sausage or their own ground beef, and it's easier to add in the ground up suet in with their leaner cuts of meat.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, ooh, interesting. Now that doesn't do any good for me if my butchers don't grind it, but if I ask them to, I wonder if they will. I'm not sure if that's a benefit or not, having it ground up. I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't either. But then they also were talking about freezing the fat. No, not the fat blobs like I have, but actually eating frozen butter, which I've kind of heard about before. It's not like that hasn't been in my realm for the last 2 years, but they're like, oh no, it changes the texture. It's like eating a piece of candy, sort of. If you freeze your butter, cut it into little chunks or whatever, and freeze it, or freeze your tallow, which I've never done. I've never eaten just tallow, but I was like, oh, that's interesting. And someone even recommended melting it down. And I'm gonna confess to something in just a moment that I was so sad about after I was on this call. But you melt down your fat, your butter or your tallow, and pour it onto a sheet pan so it's very thin. And then you just break off hunks like it's what
Brittle?
is that? Chocolate brittle, brittle or bark type of thing.
And you freeze that little.
Yeah. So I am really interested in trying this frozen fat thing. And again, it's a tallow or a butter, but I'm really curious about how different the experience might be. But I was going to confess. I made some fat blobs today, and the fat blobs are the strips of fat that I get from the butcher. I threw them in the air fryer on the steak setting, and then I kind of forgot they existed, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm already eating, and I'm like, oh yeah, I put some fat in the air fryer. So I pull it out, and a bunch of it rendered away, and I just threw that fat away.
No.
Now I know I shouldn't have, I knew as I was doing it that I should save it, but I was in a hurry and I was on the move. And then I get on this call and I'm like, I could have frozen that fat.
Could you do that with bacon fat?
It was prime I suppose you could.
Would it taste like frozen bacon?
But I mean, bacon fat lard has a different flavor anyway. So yeah. So that's sort of what I learned. And there's another topic I'm going to save that we talked about a little bit too, that I talked about with Todd. But yeah, lots of fat talk. So
Fat talk.
so I'm curious, do we have anyone who's commented on protein centric or fat centric?
Yeah. Natalie says, most days I focus on protein. Some days I feel like I'm short on fat and will snack on butter.
Oh, I like that. Sounds kind of intuitive then.
Yeah, that does sound
Yeah.
intuitive. But I think as we've done this longer, you do sort of get a sense of like, I need some fat.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Or I haven't had a steak in a day or two. I need a steak immediately.
That happened over the
Yeah,
Thanksgiving
absolutely.
holidays
It's
and
like
with that engagement party and
the
everything.
sense of having just eaten something the body really needs after a steak. It's so it shouldn't be that way, but it is.
Yeah.
Annette says, I'm higher in protein than fat because I weight lift 3 days a week and ride my bike 5 days a week. I seem to get at least 100 grams of fat per day for the most part.
And I love that. I did do some tracking for a little while to just see if I was hitting a decent amount of protein and fat. And if I do nothing, I agree. I hit a pretty decent amount as well. Yeah.
Darcy says, great facial expressions, Eric, as JJ talks about fat. I don't know what my face was doing, but I guess the right thing. Natalie, I render my beef fat to make my own tallow lotion.
Yes. One of the gentlemen on the call talked all about his rendering as well.
As because of my cold, I was a mouth breather one night and my mouth was all dry and I got my lips split because it was so dry. So I got tallow, just raw tallow, and just put it on my lips and it soaked in and softened it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even a lotion. It was just direct on the lips grease. I should have come and kissed you.
You should. I am brutal with my hands when I'm busy. Like they just digging into boxes and unpacking and they were just all torn up. And I was like, wait a minute, I should just be putting tallow on them several times a day. So I've been also doing that to my hands. And it helps. It helps so quickly. Within a few hours, it seems like there's some healing. It's crazy.
Annette doesn't have an air fryer. If I have a steak, cut the fat off, pan fry it golden brown, then cook the steak in that fat and eat the crispy bits while I wait.
I have certainly done that method as well. Yes.
We had I don't remember where those steaks were from. We had some rather thick ones, and for whatever reason, the fat on them was extra delicious.
Yeah. That was just our Kroger
Yeah, it was
pick and
just,
save. Yeah.
I wish they were always like that.
Yeah.
So what other topics do you have there?
All right. Well, here's a quick one. Todd was talking about once a year, he takes a big tomahawk ribeye and just puts it in the coals of a fire and cooks it that way. And then you kind of blow it off or brush it off or something.
The ash?
The ash.
So not the coals of a charcoal grill, but the coals of a fireplace fire?
Well,
or
like he was
campfire?
outside. Yeah. So I think it was a fire. Yeah.
Okay.
And he said it's his favorite steak all year. It's the best steak. And I hadn't heard of that. Like, I've heard of the wrap the potato in a tin foil and throw it in the coals, but I hadn't heard of doing that with steak. So I'm
Interesting. You'd think it would just burn it right up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it couldn't be like the hottest coals that are going to ignite something.
Probably not ignite it. No.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I've said this here. I was also talking and saying that I've been this member. I watch the replays. This is my first live, blah, blah, blah. But I love their Friday night live videos. Even though I'm a member, I'm like, oh, Bella's got her Friday night live video on. And so I watch it. See how I did that for my voice?
Yeah, you did it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And you've asked me, why do I like that so much? And I'm like, I don't really know. But Todd said really their big focus for that is to demonstrate the power of community and how it can be hard when you're carnivoring alone. And we were both kind of carnivoring alone for that first year because we hadn't told each other.
Yeah.
or actually first 6 months. But we've certainly gotten those comments of people thinking we're crazy for doing it, especially me. I've gotten those comments. And yet I haven't gone to a live call in a community. So that was, like I said, I had a lot of fun in this one. But what I said is I've noticed, though, that as time has gone by and we continue to be on this diet and sort of model that it's sustainable and that we're thriving on it. It's sustainable. We're thriving. It's not a struggle or hard for us, particularly, that the people in our circles have become less skeptical.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And that they have, so the attitude has changed. I think the longer we do it, the attitude in our inner circle has changed. And that some of them have even adopted eating more meat or any meat in some cases. And so it's just interesting to see that evolution of the people around us thinking it's just some crazy thing, and then see them sort of realizing that it may not be that crazy, that it's working for us. It's not some fad. So, yeah.
Well, we've been doing it too long for it to be a fad.
Right.
Now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every time they see us, we look a little bit better.
I
than
think
the
that
last
still
time.
confuses some of them because they'll be like, man, I'll see them. And then a couple days later, it's like, you really look good. Yeah, you look really good. So, yeah. There was someone on the call who actually challenges her friends and family to eat a pound of meat each day. She lays down that challenge apparently. And she said that they say they do it, but they don't have room for any of the other stuff.
We didn't even choreograph that, did we? That's the point. It's actually a really great challenge for somebody to say, eat whatever you want, but you have to eat a pound of meat first.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard a lot of carnivore / keto parents who will parent that, not quite eat whatever you want necessarily, but you eat your meat first. They try to instill in their kids the meat comes first, and then you can fill in with other things.
Nasty vegetables. Why are we not in focus anymore? I think our hands, when we did that thing, there, we're back in focus now.
Yeah.
Natalie says, I never liked marshmallows, so ashy steaks does not sound appealing either.
No.
You blow the ash off of the steak.
Apparently, yeah.
And then it's just, I don't know, burnt to a crisp.
I don't know, but I was curious if anyone.
It's more than seared.
It's more than seared, apparently.
It sounds like that would be just charred.
I don't
like charred meat.
But I mean, carnivores don't tend to eat charred meat, so I don't know what it is, but maybe I'll ask again someday about it. But yeah, so it was a really fun thing to do, and it doesn't always fit into my schedule either, because I'm on Zoom a lot for work too. So
yeah,
I don't always want to sit down to more Zoom calls.
Plus, it was strange for me because I was taking a sick boy nap, and all of a sudden she starts talking in the other room, and she's talking about carnivore, which she never does when she's on Zoom. Yeah. So I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. But I did want to say on their Friday night lives, if you've ever been interested in Steak and Butter Gang, doing part of their challenge or just being a member of their community, they're doing giveaways now on their Friday night lives. So you can enter into the drawing every Friday and possibly win a month.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a nice deal.
Which I thought was neat.
Idea.
Yeah. They gave away 10 last night, which was a lot. They aren't going to give away 10 every call, they said, but they did 10 last night. And again, I think it's just great obviously they're trying to pull people into the community, and I just think it's great to give people a taste, the carnivore curious, especially.
Right.
A little taste, period.
Well, it's good timing. We're in December, so pretty soon we're going to be in that New Year's resolution carnivore um, uh, trial period as people try to lose weight in a new way. And my understanding is that January is a carnivore month.
Oh yeah,
I've been seeing that being mentioned.
I forgot. Yeah, it is.
So if we were planning our content ahead, we would have all kinds of things lined up for all of this.
How much of a planner are you?
I do not plan very well.
No.
I can do it. I don't want to ever. And that is why you exist, because otherwise nothing would happen ever.
There is some truth to that, yes. Although I can't. Yeah.
But we should maybe we should be thinking about what we can do for Carnivore Month
We've got a little time.
and for New Year's resolution time.
Oh.
So maybe we should do a video where people we like do your carnivore resolutions. Well, you make the gaggy face, but people need that.
No, you have. So for someone who doesn't plan, you have always been someone who most years really likes that closing out the year and planning ahead for the new year and getting down your thoughts and goals and all that stuff.
I never look at it again, but I do like that process. And this actually came from business when there was this part of the end of the year that I really liked, which was looking back on the year at what our successes were. And obviously what things we wouldn't call it a failure because that's not positive framing. But we had this method that we called stop, start, continue.
I
And
love this.
so-
I've used this with clients.
Yeah. And it's really simple. It's basically just taking an inventory of what things are you going to start, what things are you going to stop doing, and what things are you going to continue doing. And you can be as creative and as wild as you want with them. But what was important to us was the starts and stops. You needed to have some things that if you were going to start something, you needed to have a stop that was associated with it because it was going to take time and resources. And so you kind of wanted to match those. But the continues were probably the most important thing because it required an assessment of, obviously this has to be working and I want to keep doing it. But many processes and systems and habits just continue just based on inertia.
Mm-hmm.
And so looking at things and saying, yeah, we're going to keep doing that thing. And because it works is better than just allowing things to continue without scrutiny.
Right. Yeah.
I guess that's my point.
Yeah.
I could have said that way quicker, but it's been a long time since I thought about it.
So yeah, you've always been sort of in that mode, and very often, not every year, but most years you do something like that. Now for me, something that in my school of, well, not the school that I created, it's not my school, but the school that I went to for life coaching, the training I did, we close out the year with 100 gratitudes for the year and 100 acknowledgments for ourselves throughout the year, from the year. And so I do that probably 50% of the time. I'll do the 100. But for me, my year doesn't feel like it starts in January. My year feels like it starts in the spring. And I don't know if that's weather related or birthday related, because my birthday's in the spring, or both. But I don't have, like, winter is not the time when I want to start fresh and have all kinds of new ideas. It just isn't. It's spring.
That's fair.
So now we may still do something here in January or end of December, but just know that I'm also going bleh. No, I think we should review. I mean, we should talk about our year and so forth. I think it's an important passage, but
Well, we're getting close to the end of our promised run of videos too. So we have to make an assessment and decide and affirm whether we're going to go for another year or not.
yeah, that's true. I think our first video was December 19th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we're getting close to that year mark.
Yeah, we are very close.
And that first video did nothing. And then all of a sudden it got a couple hundred views and we're like, this is crazy. What is happening? And then it was nothing for weeks.
Well, we've both dipped our toes into YouTube here and
Yeah.
there throughout the years. And so, yeah, it was shocking that this got any traction at all compared to our other endeavors.
It's an interesting topic compared to what I was doing before, which was
But-
uninteresting, even
well,
to me.
And for me, this is really, I love my life coaching. It changed my life, yada, yada, yada. No, it's great. But I've mentioned on here that I'm having a really hard time figuring out exactly what the future looks like, which is fine. I'll ride that wave because the change in diet has made such an enormous change. And I believe that if someone moves into a transition in their life by doing the transition in their health first, it's probably going to be a much easier. They're not going to be forcing things as much. It's going to happen much more easily and much more naturally. So anyway, this is the first thing that I am this passionate about. I love my life coaching stuff, but I am really passionate about this.
You never wore a shirt about your life coaching.
No, I don't. I wear my theater shirts because I'm part of the team and, I'm working with kids, but I don't wear shirts like this.
No message tees.
No message tees. I wear this blank. But I actually, this year I'm like, no, I actually want people to know this is meat based and ask me some questions. Go ahead. I dare ya.
and
it's
if
good-
they do, you tell them the truth.
Yeah, I do.
Not
So-
shy about it. But you don't knock people over in the grocery store and say, get those Fruit Loops out of your cart.
No, I'm not like that at all. But yeah, so this has been a completely different experience for me. Not only because you're here with me, which I love. We have viewers, we have people, we have community. But just my passion toward it is different.
So what do you guys think? Do you think we should come back for another round of this and we get to the new year? Or are you sick of us?
Go ahead.
We're waiting. No pressure.
No pressure at all.
I wish that I had more water to drink, but I
Oh.
drank it all because I'm got a cold throat and I need constant.
Well, we'll be
Hydration.
wrapping up pretty soon here. I know I've got
Oh,
no
that's right.
water either,
Yeah.
but I've got a,
So Natalie said, my husband had his company Christmas party at a Brazilian steakhouse this week. He ate steak over all the other guys there. Yeah, I haven't done that since going carnivore. I need to try
Maybe
that
we
out.
should do a steak. Maybe we should do that during the holidays at some point.
Oh yeah, we could. I'm sure we can find one somewhere.
Oh, I
right?
know that. I've looked. It's Milwaukee though. I know. I was hoping for one a little closer.
Is it downtown?
Yeah, pretty close.
Oh, then we're not going to probably do it. I'm done going to downtown for the next 5 years.
We've moved. We're a little bit farther than from Milwaukee than we were before. We're a little closer to Illinois and some of the suburbs there. But no, Milwaukee's still the closest Brazilian steakhouse.
Annette says, I'm with you, JJ. I never did resolutions. See, I didn't think of them as resolutions. It was just a new plan for the year of things that I wanted to achieve. And honestly, by having the plan, I usually got more of the stuff done than if I didn't have some goals,
Mhm.
even though I tend to be more of a direction-oriented person than a specific goal-oriented person. The goals don't motivate me as much as the maybe the emotional sense of what it would feel like to have completed the goal. But one thing that I learned a long time ago was, I think it was a Tony Robbins phrase, was progress is happiness.
Mm.
And that resonated with me because it was always true. When I was in my darkest, kind of the deepest hole, anytime that I would identify something that I wanted to accomplish and I started taking steps toward it, as soon as I started making the steps, I started feeling way better. I didn't even have to get to the goal. I just had to make progress toward it. And that's why I think carnivore is also so powerful, is because you get progress on carnivore almost, well, not instantly, but you almost always get
Pretty
it.
quickly, usually. Yeah, that's
In some
amazing.
regard. It may not be weight, it may be body recomp, it may be certain maladies or issues like IBS or whatever start resolving. Those are big deals. Those are big progresses.
Yeah.
Progresses? Is that even a thing? Is that how you say it?
But I want to say, I think it's really important what you said, because this is the foundation of my coaching practice, is the idea of progress. And if a person is a perfectionist, they will tend to minimize that progress. Yeah, I did this, but I didn't do that. Yeah, I did that, but it wasn't good enough. Yeah, I'm having better allergies, but I still haven't lost any weight. So you have to actually acknowledge the progress and celebrate the progress. You can't just minimize it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I wasn't talking about you either. Let me just say that. I totally did that. It was challenging before I started this whole life coaching thing and hired my coach 20 years ago. It was very challenging for me to acknowledge something that wasn't the way I thought it should be. So, yeah.
Well, the way this is manifested for me is, for many years I was a Green Bay Packers fan. And I wouldn't say that I'm not a fan. I just don't watch any of the games. It's too hard on my emotional health. I guess they're good this year. I haven't seen a single play. But one of the problems that I had was, it was important to me that my team won. But if the opposition scored any points, I was disappointed.
That's true.
It wasn't a good enough win.
It needed to be a shutout. Is it a shutout in football?
Sure, yeah, can we call it shutout? And it needed to be a convincing win, both offensively and so obviously if they don't score, that's a defensive win. If you score at least 40 points, that's an okay performance by your offense. But it needs to be balanced with, you need to have at least one rushing touchdown. You need to have 2 passing touchdowns. You need to get at least one safety. If you don't get a safety, you don't have a perfect game. And you need to have at least 2 pick sixes on your defense. Your defense needs to positively score points. I am absolutely the worst in what she was talking about. There is nothing that I've ever accomplished that I have considered a success. And have not found a way to discredit, undermine, or minimize in some fashion. And I don't recommend it.
No, because progress and the acknowledgement of the progress
is happiness. It's so funny because it's so interesting because the idea of a work ethic was really pounded into my head. But it was interesting in that, and I think a work ethic is good and fine and positive. But there's a disconnect when what's counted as work is misery and not the outcome. This was really interesting to me that I had misunderstood, maybe as I was taught as I was growing up, that it didn't matter if you were successful in what you did. What mattered was that it was miserable doing it.
You suffered.
And I don't know that's what was intended to be taught, but it's what I learned. I don't recommend that either. Don't do that. All right, let's see what we got here. Natalie says, we would certainly miss you. Thank you. Jose K says, keep going. Love you both. Annette says, don't leave me. And Shira, love listening to you guys. Marla, I love your shows.
Oh, thank you.
Darcy, enjoy your sessions.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for that. Positive feedback. We will take that under advisement.
Yes. Now, during this holiday season, it was our attempt to bring you a recorded video on Tuesdays, correct?
That's correct.
And our live on Friday. Now, we've not maybe been very successful with that because first we had Thanksgiving where we had a different release because of Thanksgiving, right? And we did our Thanksgiving special,
Yeah.
which was awesome.
Over 2 hours, gift giving guide, trivia, and JJ making Christmas pot things.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Uh, let's clarify. A decorative evergreen bough thing in a pot.
Yes. That is what it was. So we did that. So our schedule was wacko for Thanksgiving week, but okay. And then you got sick.
That's right.
And our schedule was wacko after Thanksgiving. So far we have not stuck to that schedule at all. So we're glad you made it to the Saturday live with us, but that is not happening next week either.
I don't know what's going to happen next week because we're leaving on a cruise.
Oh my goodness. I don't know.
So we have to figure something out.
Yeah, we will. We have to figure out next week. But we are trying to come to you twice a week still. But next week we will be gone and we'll not be live on Friday.
All right. Pardon me. I think we're going to wrap up.
That sounds good to me.
If you have any feedback for us about what you'd like to see us do, or, I mean, no one said, you know what, guys, I've had enough. But it's easy for you to not watch us.
It's really easy.
Yeah, we can solve that for you without us doing anything. But if you have any questions for us, if there's a topic we haven't covered, let us know because we're always dying to figure out what you guys want to see.
Yes, we are.
Because otherwise, we're just going to repeat ourselves, which is fine because the message bears repeating.
Yeah.
Eat animal meat, red meat every day, and cut back the carbs as much as you can. Eliminate all the sugar and the seed oils, and if you can, preferably the alcohol too, because that's really difficult for your sleep. And have a renaissance at whatever age you are.
Yes, I love that.
You have so much ability within your human organism to heal and to strengthen. It is miraculous what the body can do if you let it. And the number one way to let it is stop poisoning it.
Yeah.
And start feeding it the things it needs.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I write books.
It's like yeah. Oh my gosh, that reminds me. We were at our nephew's engagement party and they asked for words of wisdom, blah, blah, blah. And of course, this one here who writes books gives the most beautiful message. I don't remember it.
I don't either.
But your way with words. We should have ended on that, but no. I had to get the last word in. So until next time, thank you so much for watching, commenting. Please like, and we will see you sometime next week. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.